your eyes, take a look at me. Get the picture fixed in your memory. I'm driven by the rhythm like the beat of a heart. And I won't stop until I start to stand out. Stand out. Some people settle for the typical thing, living all their lives waiting in the wings. It ain't a question of if, just a matter of time before I move to the front of the line. Once you're watching every move that I make, you gotta believe that I got what it takes to stand out above the crowd, even if I got a shot on love. Tonight is the only face that you see. Gonna stand out so you notice. Okay. Sorry, that's enough dancing. Okay, today we are going to work on the study guide. And okay, so make sure that you're writing all of this down. If you missed any of these questions at all, you need to correct it on your paper, correct how to work out the problem, as well as correct your answers, okay? That will be all a part of your 10 extra credit points for your test. What is the value of the expression negative 3 to the third power? Negative 4 to the third power. So that is simply negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. Okay? This 3 tells me how many times I am multiplying that negative 4 by itself. Okay? So then we are just going to multiply. Negative 4 times negative 4 gives me positive 16. And then positive 16 times negative 4 gives me negative 64. You can use the calculator to do that part, but you don't really need one. But you could use one if you wanted to. Okay? Using exponents, what is the simplified form of the expression 12x to the fifth power divided by 6x to the second? Remember, you're dividing these first two numbers. So 12 divided by 6 gives me 2. And then remember, we're subtracting exponents with the same base when we are dividing exponents with the same base. Okay, we subtract our exponents when we are dividing exponents with the same base. So our base here is x. So we're going to keep our base, which is x, and then we're going to just subtract our exponent. So 5 minus 2 gives us 3. So 2x to the third power. Okay? And it may be helpful to write subtract exponents when dividing. Something to help you think. When I'm dividing, I need to be subtracting my exponents. When I am multiplying exponents with the same base, I will be adding my exponents. Okay? For this next one, it says using exponents, what is a simplified form of the expression? So negative 3 to the second, x to the fourth to the second, and y to the second to the second. Negative 3x to the fourth, y to the second, and this is all to the second power. So that first negative 3 is actually to the second because we are taking, it's understood, here let me backtrack just a hot second. Okay. It is understood to have an exponent of 1 if nothing is there. Okay, so pretend it's got a 1 there. Well, then we multiply it times this 2 on the outside because when we are taking an exponent to an exponent, you have to multiply the exponents together. So 1 times 2 gives us 2, and that's why we get negative 3 to the second power. X, we have 4 here times 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. I need to get a thinner pen here. Okay, and then we have, see under here, we have y to the second and then to the second. So y, 2 times 2 gives me 4. Okay, I am going to erase this, get a smaller pen, different color, and we'll try this again. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this. We've got negative 3 to the first, x to the fourth, and y to the second. What you're doing is you're multiplying each one of these exponents times 2 because we've got this exponent on the outside, which is the second power. So 1 times 2 is 2, so that's why we have negative 3 to the second. 2 times 4 is 8. That's why we've got x to the 8th. And 2 times 2 is 4. So that's why we have y to the 4th. We can simplify this further because negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So 9x to the 8th, y to the 4th. That is our most simplified version of this answer. Okay, this one actually says 10 to the negative 5th power, and it wants us to write it using a positive exponent. Remember about flipping over the fraction bar, okay? Anytime we want to change the sign of the exponent, we have to flip it over the fraction bar. So, right now it's 10 to the negative 5th power over 1. So we will flip that over the fraction bar, so the 1 is on top, 10 is on bottom, and now it's a positive 5th power. Okay, so 1 over 10 to the 5th power. And that's our answer because it wants us to write it using a positive exponent, which means we're leaving it with a positive exponent. You do not have to do 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Okay? Number 5, the Statue of Liberty weighs 450,000 pounds. What is the number written in scientific notation? Remember, when we are writing something in scientific notation, you start where the decimal is. And the decimal, if you don't see a decimal, it's understood to be at the back of the number. And then you have to move that decimal until there's just one number to the left of that decimal. So, we're moving it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we have 4 and 5/10 times 10 to the 5th power because I moved that decimal 5 times. Okay, it says, what is the value of the expression the square root of negative 144 over negative 100? Okay, so the square root of 144 will be 12, and the square root of 100 is 10. Okay, and our negative sign is on the outside here. Okay, so we can still reduce this because we can divide both of these by 2. I would take this as an acceptable answer, by the way. But if you wanted to reduce it, it would reduce down to 6/5. Okay, to the nearest whole number, what is the best estimate for 2 and the square root of 214? Okay, the square root symbol. Okay, so the closest to the square root of 214, the closest to 214 is the square root of 225, which is 15. So this is a little bit under 15, but it's about 15. It wants us to round to the whole number. So it is about 15. If it wanted us to get a little more specific or round it to the nearest tenth, then I would say something like 14 and 9/10 or 14 and 8/10, something like that. Okay, because it is closer to 15 than it is to 14 because the square root of the square root of 196 is 14. And 214 is closer to 225 than it is to 196. So write negative 9/15 as a decimal. Remember, we're just dividing here. Okay, 9 divided by 15 is all you're doing. So if you are able to use a calculator, we're just going to do 9 divided by 15, and we get 0.6. But remember, this negative sign comes down, so we've got negative 0.6. If you are not using a calculator, you just divide. You put 9 in the house. Top number always goes in the house. 15 cannot go into 9, so we put a decimal and annex a 0. 15 goes into 90 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Subtract and we get 0. So our answer is 6/10. Okay, so anytime we've got a repeating decimal, and that's what this bar notation over the number says, that it's a repeating decimal, anytime we want to write, and this is supposed to say fraction, sorry. Okay, write 0 and 75/100ths repeating as a fraction. Okay, so anytime we have the bar notation over it, writing it as a fraction is the trick of the nines. We put it over the nines. So if there are two numbers that repeat, we put it over two nines. If there's one number that repeats, we put it over one nine. If there's three numbers that repeat, we put it over three nines. That's just how it works. Then you can reduce from there. I would take this as an acceptable answer, but your regular math teachers are probably going to want you to reduce it. Okay, so I'm trying to think. 75 can be divided by 3. That is 25. Okay, so 75 divided by 3 gives us 25, and 99 divided by 3 gives us 33. And I believe that's as far as we can go. So that will be your most reduced fraction. But I would take 75 over 99 as well. Now it says solve the equation x squared equals 400. That is the exact same thing as saying what is the square root of 400. Okay, so you have to think in your head what two numbers, they have to be the same, what two numbers that are the same can be multiplied together to get 400. And that answer is going to be 20. 20 times 20 gives us 400. 2 times 2 is 4, and then we have 1, 2 zeros. Okay? Okay, moving on. All right, number 11. Evaluate the expression given if a equals 4 and b equals negative 3. So this says a to the a squared minus b to the third power. So we've got 4 squared minus b, minus b, which is negative 3 to the third power. You want to make sure you're doing exponents first, and then we will worry about subtracting. So we've got 4 squared, which is 4 times 4, minus negative 3 to the third power, which is negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Okay. So now, 4 times 4, this gives me 16. Sorry, I'm going to write it over here. Minus, because I am subtracting here. And then negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. And positive 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. So again, you can do this part in your calculator, but if not, you can just click, click. We're just adding these together. Subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding. So 16 plus 27, okay, is 43. So that is our answer, 43. Okay, so for 12 to 14, simplify using the laws of exponents. Write each expression using a positive exponent. Okay, so n to the 7th power divided by n to the 3rd power gives us n to the 4th power. Remember, we subtract exponents when dividing exponents with the same base. That's shorthand. That's me writing quickly, but you get the point. When we are dividing exponents with the same base, which is n, that's our same base, we subtract our exponents. Okay, now here we've got u to the 3rd power, to the 2nd, to the 4th. Okay, you're just multiplying those three together. So 3 times 2 gives us 6, and 6 times 4 gives us 24. So u to the 24th power. Now this next one, I completely had you guys rewrite this problem as 42 c to the 12th divided by 6 c to the 4th. Okay, and again, you're going to divide the first two numbers. 42 divided by 6 gives us 7. And then you're going to keep your same base, and you're going to subtract your exponent. So 12 minus 4 gives us 8. So 7c to the 8th power. Okay, number 15, let's write this as a mixed number. So we want to write it as a mixed number the way we read it. So we read this as 2 and 1800ths. So I'm literally going to write 2 and 18 over 100. This can be reduced. I would take this answer, that's fine, but your regular math teachers are going to want you to reduce, so to do that, you're going to have to divide them both by the same number. So we can divide these both by 2. Remember to bring over your whole number in front of your fraction, which is 2, and then 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. So 2 and 9/50ths, or I would take 2 and 1800ths. Okay, write 7 to the negative 5th power. I think I put to the negative 5th power. Using a positive exponent. Sorry, there were a lot of typos here. Sorry. So, again, if you are wanting a positive exponent or the opposite exponent, you want to flip it over the fraction bar. So right now it's 7 to the negative 5th over 1. Even if there's no 1 underneath it, it's understood to be over 1. Okay, so then we need to get a positive exponent, so we are going to flip it over the fraction bar. Okay, so now it's 1 over 7 to the 5th power. Okay, it wants us to write 3 and 700ths times 10 to the negative 4th in standard. So again, we're starting with 3 and 700ths, but then we have to move our decimal 4 to the left because it's negative. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to put empty buckets. Okay, so Coach Gregson had a little trick here. If you count your zeros, we got 4 zeros, and there's a 4 here. Okay? And the negative means to the left. You got 4 zeros to the left. Okay? Evaluate the expression. Express the result in scientific notation. Okay, so this is multiplication. So you can use your calculator. 1.2 times 3.2 is 3 and 8400ths times 10 to the, remember when we are multiplying exponents with the same base, we add our exponents. So 4 plus negative 6 gives us negative 2. And we are done. This is already in scientific notation. Go us. Okay, so evaluate the next one is 2 and 1/10 times 10 to the 4th power. So we want to move this decimal 4 times. So we moved it once and then 1, 2, 3. So that's 4 altogether. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we are adding that to 5 and 6800ths to the negative 2. So we have to move it back to 1, 2. So 0.0568. Okay? And then we are adding those together and expressing it in standard form. Okay? So remember to line up your decimals when you are adding or subtracting. Okay, so our answer is 21,568 10,000ths. Okay, and then our last one, it says find the cube root of 729 means what 3 numbers, they all have to be the same, when multiplied together gives us 729. Okay, so we have to think of the ones we know in order to figure it out if we hadn't memorized the chart already. Okay, but if you know the chart, then you know that 9 times 9 times 9 gives us 729. So our answer would be 9. Okay, 9 times 9 is 81, and 81 times 9 is 729. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Study!